Let's call the meeting to order. This is the Municipal Land Use Board of the Borough of River Edge. It is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. Time now is 7:31 p.m. This meeting of the Municipal Land Use Board of the Borough of River Edge is being held remotely and recorded via Zoom due to the Borough Council Chamber's unavailability and is in compliance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act and associated regulations. Notice of this meeting was published in the Bergen Record on October 6, 2022, posted on the front doors of Borough Hall, and posted on the borough's website. The notice included the dial-in and login information necessary for public participation and access to this meeting remotely. A copy of the agenda for the meeting was made available on the borough's website near the posting of the meeting notice and included the dial-in and login information. During the public comment period of this meeting, if you would like to make a public comment, please press the raise hand button on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand. The board will address you by name or by the last four digits of your telephone number. You may mute and unmute yourself by pressing the microphone icon on Zoom or dialing *6 on your telephone keypad. You must state your name and address clearly prior to making a public comment. One housekeeping item of note: we will have a curfew this evening of 10 p.m. With that, I'd like to turn over to Ms. Steinle to call the roll, please.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Here.
Mr. Caslin?
Here.
Ms. Boland? Is absent at the moment. Mr. Merman?
Here.
Mr. Pfeffer is excused tonight. Mr. Cray? Is absent as well. Mr. Arkelian? Oh, he's muted, but he is here. Councilman Kinigo?
Here.
Mr. Gibbons?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Here.
Mr. Bastide is excused tonight. Also present is Jason Flores for serving as our board engineer tonight from Mr. Costa's office, and Tom Behrens will be here as well. I think he just dropped off.
Okay, well, I believe we'll get Tom back in a little bit. I think this is him coming back.
There we go.
All right, very good.
And Mr. Cray is here as well, and he just came in through the attendee.
Oh, good. Okay, we'll let him join us. Okay, as we move down tonight's agenda, we have no correspondence. The 10:25 minutes are not yet available. The next item on our agenda for this evening under discussion is a discussion of resolution regarding ordinance number 23-19 concerning lead-based paint inspections. This was referred to us for review for consistency with the master plan by the Borough Council. Ms. Steinle, if you would start us off, please.
Yes, so this ordinance is for lead-based paint inspections in the borough. Under state law, landlords or owners of single and two-family or multi-dwelling units that are rented must obtain an inspection for lead-based paint hazards within 2 years of the date of the law. And then the borough, there's two options for landlords, is to either go on it on their own and get their own inspection, and pay a fee, a $20 fee, I believe, or $50 fee to the state. There's a state fund for this type of service, and then the other option is for the municipality to go in and do the inspection. This ordinance provides an initial inspection fee for when the borough conducts the inspection of $500, or if the dwelling owner or landlord hires the private contractor, they only have to pay the $50 administrative fee to the Department of Community Affairs. I did look up some neighboring towns to see if they had already put in an ordinance and to see what their fees were. It seems like River Edge is a little bit on the high end, but that could just be because the inspectors are required to get certified and trained to do this type of work. So River Edge's fee, the initial inspection fee is $500. In New Milford, their inspection fee is $100, but then there's additional cost for the actual analysis. In Oradell, their fee is around $285 plus additional fees for inspecting each unit and paying the administrative fee. One of the other higher towns was Dumont. They had an initial visual inspection fee of $100, but then if there's actual testing that needs to be conducted, then it costs $250 for each of those inspections. So River Edge, it seems like it's a little bit high, but not completely out of the ordinary. So tonight we need to review the ordinance for master plan consistency because it is affecting the zoning chapter, and make any recommendations to the council. So there was one minor typographical error regarding the citation of the state law. So I recommend that we just include that in the resolution and then possibly consider reducing the proposed inspection fee if that's necessary. But if you have any questions, I'm free to answer them.
Tom,
I'll,
can I turn to
oh,
you?
sorry, Mr. Kazin, go ahead.
No, I was just going to turn to you if you could
Okay.
give us your
Give my spin on it. So I think Marina, excuse me, gave a great overview of what the ordinance entails. And as she noted, it's an amendment to chapter 416 of the Borough Code, which is the zoning ordinance, which by default makes it a development regulation. And when there's a change to a development regulation or a new development regulation introduced, the municipal land use law requires that the governing body forward that ordinance to the planning board, or in this case, the land use board, for review and comment, and specifically to identify if there are any provisions of the master plan which are deemed to be inconsistent with any provision of this ordinance. So because of the nature of the ordinance, in that it generally promotes the public welfare to identify if there's any lead paint, and obviously identify hazards where people live, and reviewing the master plan, which promotes the general welfare and providing reasonable housing alternatives. There's nothing in our current master plan documents that would be inconsistent with this ordinance. And that's really what the board has to determine, if there's any inconsistencies. There are master plan goals that would support this type of thing, again, promoting the general welfare and similarly providing modernized housing. So from that standpoint, I think at a minimum, the board could find that this ordinance is not inconsistent. I know that's a double negative, but that's often how these things are reviewed. And so if the board was so inclined, they could, deliberate amongst yourselves, but potentially come to that conclusion and forward that to the governing body, that you've conducted the master plan consistency review in accordance with the law, as well as forward any recommendations. I know Marina talked about the fees. If there's anything else that stands out to any members in terms of providing a recommendation to the mayor and council for consideration, that information can also be forwarded as a part of this review process. So that pretty much sums up what the board's task is in reviewing this ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barron. So for the record, Ms. Boland is now here. She was here at 7:35. Let me open it to questions to the board at this point, for either Ms. Steinle or Mr. Barron.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Gibbons?
I don't necessarily have a question for them. Just a comment on that fee. I do think it's, coming from the real estate side, I do think it is a bit high. I think most of these are going to be a visual inspection. I don't think many, at least in our town, are going to need an actual physical inspection, and test results. So personally, I would rather see us have something along the lines of, I forget what town it was, $100 visual inspection. And if it's deemed more is needed, then ask for more. You know, $500 asking $500 from, you know, someone that might be renting the other side of their house out, or, you know, or a small rental. Personally, I think is a bit high. If there's a need for, you know, a further inspection, certainly, you know, that's warranted. But, you know, I do think many inspectors are not doing it on the side because of insurance and different reasons. So the landlord may be hard pressed to find someone to actually do it besides the borough. So personally, I would suggest we do, you know, a visual inspection for a lower number. And if we need to do more, you know, if more is involved, then more fee could be added on. Just my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gibbons. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Arquette?
so I've been through a few of these already, the inspections, including one here in River Edge. And Mr. Silverman took me through the process that he was looking for me to accomplish. And at the time, my client had to hire a private firm out of Hackensack, and they charged, I think, $200. So the ordinance is actually part of a state law that was enacted about 2 years ago, which I was very much updated on, being I'm on the board of directors for the Board of Realtors here in Bergen County. The towns have their choice whether they're enacting a visual or a physical. The physical would be that somebody would actually walk around and do wipe tests and then send out the wipes to see if there's any lead paint. Those are typically, and again, this was all in the class that I took, done with older buildings that are multiple, you know, more in the city kind of foundation, as opposed to, you know, a town like River Edge where, you know, there's small apartments and so forth, where they just enact the visual. So the problem is that, of course, if the borough doesn't send the building inspector to get certified as an environmental lead paint inspector, the fee is irrelevant anyway, because they can't charge it if they don't have anybody to do it. What we've been suggesting to the towns that have come to us for some guidance on this, and there have been many, that they do send their inspector out, get certified, and then they keep the fee reasonable to what a private company would do, which would be about $200. And you know, I think that's reasonable, and Ryan makes a good point. If it's somebody that's just renting a small 1-bedroom apartment, they're paying $500 every 2 years, and this has to happen every 2 years. There's no one inspection and you're done. Every 2 years, this has to happen. Of course, that $500 is not going to be absorbed by the landlord. It's going to be absorbed by the person that's renting the apartment. And if they're renting it for $1,000 a month, now you've just gone up another, $60 a month to cover that cost. So that's my recommendation to the town, that they send their inspector out to get certified, and they bring that fee down to a reasonable $200, which is about what all the other towns are doing. Or just leave it as it is and let them go get their own private people who charge about the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arkelian. Anyone else? Okay. At this point, I will look for a motion on
Mr. Chairman, I can offer a motion, put this into a motion. But first, I would like to clarify what the board members feel adequate fees are numerically, so I can include it in my motion as a recommendation to the mayor and council. I sounds like perhaps that an initial visual fee of around $100 is possible, and a higher number for a physical fee. Is that what I'm hearing? I need some help here with numbers.
that's what it sounds like to me. Certainly, that was the recommendations. It sounded like Mr. Gibbons and Mr. Arkelian to reduce
Okay.
the amounts for both.
Just to be clear, it would be the town would either enact the ordinance for a visual inspection or a physical inspection. If you're not required, or is it in the law to be able to, I believe Marina can back me up on that, to do both. You're gonna do either one or the other. And most of the small towns in Bergen County that I know of, that have this ordinance have done a visual, have adopted the ordinance for a visual inspection only.
Yeah, but is there not a possibility that a physical might be needed?
No, because once the areas of inspection are pointed out to the homeowner, they have to go in and remediate it. And usually what's done is you hire a painter
Okay.
and he comes in and either spackles
Right.
and then paints over it and it's over. Because the only way you can really do anything with lead paint at this point is either rip the walls out and redo everything, which very few people are doing, or just paint over it. And that's
Encapsulate.
encapsulating the lead paint
Right.
is the protection.
All right, Mr. Chairman, can I suggest that we poll the board on what the initial visual inspection dollars might be? So we have a sense on that. That seems to be the only variable.
That sounds right to me. I think that's an appropriate step. Ms. Steinle, maybe while in the meantime, would you confirm whether it's one inspection or there's a distinction between inspections while we take up the question on the
Yes, the way the ordinance is written right now, it's not clear. It just says inspection fee. So maybe that could be an additional recommendation.
So let's go around. So why don't we start with Mr. Cray, if you've got a suggested amount for the inspection fee?
Well, I mean, I really think that the fee ought to be commensurate with what it would cost to go and have it done by a third party, right? It shouldn't be punitive to have them use the borough's services if that's what we want them to do. So if $100 or $150 is a typical cost for a visual inspection, I don't see why we'd want to exceed that by any significant amount.
Okay. Mr. Esposito?
Yes. What
Do
did
you
I
have a-
miss?
Do you have a particular amount in mind for suggesting what the inspection fee ought to be?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, so you'll go along with the general consensus of the board is on that.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Gibbons, I think you just to recap your proposal.
I mean, if the typical number is 200, I mean, if you did 150, it could incentivize them to use our inspector, and it could make the borough a little bit more money. So I'd say about 150-ish.
Okay. Ms. Boland. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I would defer to the members that have more experience.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Mr. Arkelian.
Would agree with Ryan. I think 150 is fair and non-punitive to the people that own rentals currently in a property and in the process.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor and Councilman, I don't know that you necessarily have a
So,
statement here or
I don't want
a
to speak to
position.
the councilman, but this fee was recommended by our BA based on what she felt would be appropriate. The council may or may not agree with that when it comes up for a second hearing. The recommendations of this body may sway the council to change or more argument from our BA may change, may lead the council to remain at the current fee. But so what I guess I'm saying is, since I'm going to be part of the decision-making process, final decision-making process, I'm not going to take a position in tonight, because I believe this is a recommendation from land use board that should come really clean to the mayor and council. So from my point of view is, whatever this body wishes to recommend is fine. It will then be, maybe someone from this body might want to come to the mayor and council's meeting when it's reviewed and verbally make the arguments that you're making now. But I don't want to take a position right now because I belong to both bodies and I belong to the body that will be making the final decision.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman?
Yeah, same thing. I'm not taking a position either way. I just want this land use board to just be aware that the $500 figure wasn't reached willy-nilly. There was discussion, and our borough administrator has reasons for it. And I believe that she has looked at all of Bergen County, and you know, she can speak more to it when it comes up. But I just want this board to understand that, of course, we value and cherish your opinions. But I think that there's information that maybe you don't have right now as to why the $500 fee was reached. So that being said, I take no position either way. I'll just let everybody, you know, reach their decisions and then hear it when it comes before the board, before the council, if I'm still on it at the time.
Just a question, just a point of information. Do you know if the fees that they developed, that the BA developed, was based on a physical inspection or just visual? Do you know what was included?
I believe it was physical inspection as well.
Yeah.
But I don't want to speak definitively on it because we talked about it quite a while ago. So I don't remember all the details of it right now, but certainly Lizette would be best suited to fill in the blanks if this board has any questions. And if this board wanted to get a survey of Bergen County towns and what they're doing as well, so that they have that information, I'm sure that can be made available. So just putting it out there, just, you know, if it comes to pass that it gets before the council, we end up voting the 500, even though you say 150, I don't want you guys to think that we're ignoring you. I mean, there are reasons that we reach these decisions, but certainly we value everything you say. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Fair. Thank you, Councilman. So, Mr. Merman, it sounds like we're hearing a range here, and perhaps that might be the course to follow, a range between $150 and $200, or whatever's commensurate with what a third party would otherwise charge. And I think, just to reiterate what Ms. Steinley said, you know, there's no distinction from what it appears between a visual and a physical inspection, at least as far as the statute's concerned.
Okay, and having to put my 2 cents in, I will agree with the two realty representatives. So I will make my motion when I make it that the mayor and council consider a visual inspection fee from $150 to $200. Having said that, let's see if we can put a motion together here, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Merman.
It's like building a bear here, all right? I'll make a motion that regarding the resolution of recommendation for the adoption of ordinance number 23-19, amending chapter 416 of the zoning code of Riveridge, that the board finds that the ordinance and what's proposed here, the proposed ordinance, is consistent with the master plan, since it promotes the protection of health and welfare and public safety, and also is encourages, the master plan encourages the rehab of substandard deteriorating housing. Therefore, there is no inconsistency with the master plan, and the recommendation is made to the mayor and council to consider that as the board's position, and with the recommendation of a visual inspection fee ranging from $150 to $200 be considered by the mayor and council. That's it.
Okay. There's a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. Ms. Steinle, do you want to do a roll call?
Yes, and just to clarify, in the resolution, I'm going to put in not inconsistent with the borough master plan, just to match with the municipal land use law language. And I'm also going to recommend the fix of the minor typographical error. All right, if that's all right. All right, Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Finley, question, if I and or Councilman Kenigo abstain, would that cause the motion to fail? Because if that
No.
would cause it to fail, I'll vote yes, but I would prefer to vote, I would prefer to take no position.
I agree.
Abstain.
No, it won't cause the, I don't think so. I'll call you last, just to make sure.
Okay.
All right, Mr.
I
Caslin?
abstain at this time.
Yes.
All right. Ms. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Mayor will abstain,
I will abstain, yes.
and Councilman Kenigo.
Abstain.
All right, the motion passes.
Okay. Thank you all. Our next item this evening on the agenda are memorializations. I know that these came in sort of late in the process to review. Just want to make sure, is there anyone who is not in a position to be able to vote on either of these this evening from the board? Okay, in that case, let's proceed. The first memorialization is for the applicant Dale Taldy. Property is 200 Valley Road. This is lot 31 in block 1104. The resolution granting variance for maximum improved lot coverage for the subject property. Any questions or comments on the draft of the resolution that was circulated for review?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Merman.
I read this resolution today, and I compared it with my notes and so forth, and as written, I find it to be quite acceptable.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Merman. Anyone else from the board? Comments, questions? Okay, at this point, I will entertain a motion on this resolution, please.
So moved.
Okay, I think I have a first from Mr. Gibbons and a second from Mr. Cray.
All right, I'll only call those eligible to vote. Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Ms. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes.
Next item under memorializations, this is the applicant Nimesh Patel. Property is 315 Van Son Drive, lot 6 in block 1106. Resolution is granting a variance for maximum improved lot coverage. Draft of the resolution was circulated for review. Any questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Merman.
likewise, I reviewed this afternoon and compared it with my notes, and I find this resolution complete and most acceptable.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Merman. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion on the resolution, please.
So moved?
Thank you, Ms. Boland. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. Ms. Stein?
Okay, Mr. Mayor,
yes,
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Ms. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
yes,
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for being able to review that on a quick turnaround. Next on our agenda this evening, under completeness review, the applicant is Coretta Investments LLC. Property is 298 Taft Road. This is block 1108, lot 28. The application is seeking approval of additions to an existing dwelling and related site improvements. Height, maximum lot coverage, maximum approved lot coverage approvals required. Ms. Steinle?
Yes, thank you. Prior to this meeting, I reviewed the proofs submitted by the applicant and found them to be sufficient for the board to have jurisdiction over the application tonight.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Behrens?
Good evening. Yeah, so with respect to the completeness review, the applicant submitted an accurate existing condition survey as well as plans which include the site plan or plot plan and architectural drawings, which seem to be accurate and in order for the board to proceed.
Okay, thank you, sir. Questions or comments from the board as to completeness? Okay, there being none, I'll entertain a motion on completeness, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. I think I have a second from Mr. Cray.
All right, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Ms. Boland.
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
yes,
Councilman Kinigo,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
yes,
All right, the motion passes.
Thank you. Our next item under completeness review this evening, the applicant is Joe and Deborah Dabney. The property is 390 Fifth Avenue. This is block 906, lot 39. The application proposes an installation of a new in-ground pool, surrounding patio and pool equipment. The variance relief is sought for maximum improved lot coverage and various other bulk and setback requirements. Ms. Steinle?
Yes, prior to the meeting, I reviewed the proofs submitted by the applicant and found them to be sufficient for the board to have jurisdiction over the application tonight.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Behrens?
Yeah, so I've reviewed the application materials and I'll just note that the plans have evolved a bit since I originally reviewed them back in August and issued my review letter. And so the applicant's proposing an in-ground pool, patio and pool equipment, as well as a seepage pit for drainage. The original plan had the pool, we'll say, deeper into the rear yard, and they've since revised the plan a bit. So there are two iterations of the new plan, which I think when it's the applicant's turn, we'll just have to confirm which plan we're going to go with because they differ a bit in terms of what the proposed coverage is going to be. And because they've revised the plans, there's at least one variance which pertains to the improved lot coverage calculation. And again, it differs between the plans. So I think we have enough to proceed, but we just need clarification when the time comes in terms of which plan we should be looking at.
Okay. Mr. Flores, sorry.
Good evening, everybody. Like Tom said, since my office reviewed this plan the first time, they have involved, and we just gonna need clarification as to which plan are we gonna go in order to calculate the proper, impervious lot coverage. And I think we have sufficient information to proceed with the application tonight.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the board on completeness? Okay. There being none, I will look for a motion on the completeness of this application.
Move to accept it as complete.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I think Mr. Gibbons on a second.
All right, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Ms. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
yes,
Mr. Cray,
yes,
Mr. Eric Kelly,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
yes,
All right, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you, folks. Moving down our agenda for this evening are under new business. The applicant is Coretta Investments LLC. Property is 298 Taft Road. This is block 1108, block 28. Application is for additions to an existing dwelling and site improvements, looking for height, maximum lot coverage, and maximum improved lot coverage approvals. I believe the applicant is here, and I believe applicant's counsel is also present.
Good evening.
Okay.
Hello.
Good evening, gentlemen. So Ms. Stiley,
The applicant's attorney, could you just enter your appearance?
Zare Korosian. Its first name is Zare. Last name is Khorozian as in Nancy.
Okay, and do you have any professionals here? I know there's some people in
Yeah,
the.
there's two attendees now. One's I believe Matt.
Okay,
Matt is there. Matt Evans, Alex Doherty.
okay, I'm gonna promote them to panelists
Perfect.
and we'll get everyone sworn in.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, and Alex Tord.
yeah, he's still showing up as an attendee. Oh,
Oh,
we
there.
go.
Right. So once everyone's whoever is going to provide testimony will need the cameras on, and I'll just ask that you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, and we'll start with, is it the applicant? If you please state your name, spell your last name, provide your address for the record.
Yes, it's Nicholas Gouvanis, Nicholas Gouvanis, address 298 Taft Road, Riveredge.
Thank you. And we'll go to Mr. or Alex.
Yes.
If you please state your name, spell your last name, provide the board with your qualifications.
Alexander Dougherty, last name is Dougherty, professional planner, 54 Main Street, Chatham, New Jersey. My education is at Rutgers Blaustein, with a master's in city and regional planning and a concentration in development and redevelopment studies. And I testify in this capacity on a weekly and daily basis.
All right. And then down in the corner, Matthew Evans.
Yes, Matthew Evans, architect planner. I'm going to be testifying as an architect, and I have Javier Kiana with me, also on the project.
Could you just spell your last names for the record, please?
Evans.
And then Javier.
Quijano, Q-U-I-J-A-N-O.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Evans, you are and will be testifying as an architect. Could you just provide the board with your licensure and background?
Okay, I'm presently licensed in the state of New Jersey as a registered architect in good standing. I've testified before numerous boards and been accepted in the field of architecture in Bergen County, Passaic County, throughout New Jersey in the field.
All right.
Okay. Questions from the board as to the qualifications of either the architect or the planner? Okay. Thank you. All right, Mr. Korosian.
Thanks, everyone. Good evening, Chairman of the Board. I represent the applicant with respect to the premises located on 298 Taft Road, River Edge. Applicant proposes to make improvements and additions to the existing single-family dwelling, including adding a second floor, rear deck, and car garage. The applicant is seeking only two variances: maximum lot coverage and maximum improved lot coverage. Applicant is not seeking a use variance. The premises will be remaining as a single-family dwelling. Please note, just one thing I want to note to the chairman and the board, there is a discrepancy between the variances listed in the letter of noncompliance and the application. The letter of noncompliance states the maximum lot coverage proposed is 38.4%, while the application in fact states applicant proposes only 27.2%, which is 2.2% over the required maximum. Just wanted to note that discrepancy. Tonight, I have three experts, but an architect and a planner. The first expert I'm going to call up is Matthew Evans and Javier. Matt and Javier, if you could just make sure your mics are open.
Okay. All right, so we have a several sheets. We have a 4-sheet submission, sheet S1, A1, A2, A3, dated recent date 9/18/23. Which were updated from the engineer's review. Going to sheet S1, we show the site location plan. We have details, and we have the zoning data, and also showing the site plan. Do I need to present anything, or should I?
Yeah, Matt, so just a few questions, just for the record, just to get it in line. Have you conducted a physical inspection of the property?
Yeah, we've measured and done site review of the property.
Great. And you've reviewed the Coaster Engineering review letter dated November 3rd?
Yes.
And you're positive you can comply with every request made by the board?
Yes, I believe we've made those amendments to our presently site plan based on some of the drainage and engineering details that were needed.
Great. And you prepared the drawings for this application, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you could please just go ahead, describe your scope of work, and also just discuss with the board your drawings, page by page.
Should we post the drawings, or?
You can share your screen if you have the drawings available electronically.
Make sure I can. One second. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
So based on what I brought up before, we have the site location plan, the drainage and engineering details based on the review letter. We have the zoning data and zoning worksheet, and then we have the site plan above, which shows the property, which, as you can see, is an irregularly shaped lot.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Maybe if you could get rid of the bookmarks tab, that might give you a little more space on the left-hand side. That might.
Is that better?
That way maybe you can blow it up a little bit for the back of the board.
Okay, yeah, we'll go right into the site plan maybe.
Great, thank you.
As you can see, it's a pie-shaped property. So it gets smaller as you get to the rear of the property, basically 10.53 feet in the rear. So we were working with those existing conditions, and what we've done is we've proposed an addition that would conform with the new construction within those setback lines. So we have, in addition to the 2-story addition in the rear with the deck, we're also adding a second story to the existing single-story house. Presently, it has a single-car garage. What we're doing is we're going to take some piece of that living space and create it a new 2-car and make that a 2-car garage, and then improve that driveway so we would have the ability to park 2 cars in the garage and have 2 cars in front. And as you can see, we have the drainage structures and showing the grading and the improvements to the rear. So that's essentially what we're proposing. on the site plan. What I can do is go to the next sheet. Oh, wait.
There was a site plan.
Trying to get the next sheet up here. I'll take. I have, trying to get the second sheet up here, sorry. Yeah. Okay, so sorry. So going to the second page, which is sheet A1, we show, as you can see on the top left, we have the demolition plan showing the existing conditions in the basement, and basically around the perimeter in the existing basement, it's in basically all crawl space and around the perimeter of the existing basement. Going to the existing floor plan, which is also shows demolition, we show the single car garage to the left, living, dining, the existing kitchen, the stairs, and then we have 3 bedrooms to the right-hand side of the ranch house. Then going to the first basement plan, which is proposed, you can see how we have the crawl space areas to the perimeter. We're providing a new stair, 2 stairways. We have one in the front, one in the middle, and then we're going to, on the addition side, we have a finished basement area, which we would be adding to the existing basement. So the basement existing, as you saw before, is a little small, so this will give them additional storage and area, usable area.
Mr. Evans, I'm sorry, before you go ahead, could you please go back to the first floor demo plan? Just want to make sure we understand the extent of the first floor demolition, because that could relate to the existing non-conforming side yard setbacks to remain, which I can explain further.
Okay, so this is the, you see on the small rectangle on the left on the demolition plan, that's the garage area, and then you have crawl space, the U shape in the back, and then you have, as you can see, just the center core, basically, this little L-shaped section is, would be basement. We have crawl space. So that's basically the perimeter. Now, if you look at the proposed basement, it's a little hard to read because, but you can see the unexcavated areas would be remaining. And then we have basically the, as you can see, it basically convenes, it gets smaller in the back to work with those side yard property lines. So that's why.
All right, so pertaining to where the existing garage is, can the existing foundation support a 2-story addition above it as it exists, or are you gonna have to rebuild the foundation?
No, it would be suitable. It's only gonna add another story. It'll be bedroom above. And as you can see, the span is small, it's 10 feet on the bearing, so it would not negatively impact the existing structure.
All right, and what's there now is more than just a concrete slab. There's an actual building foundation under the garage?
Yeah, there's a foundation, putting in foundation, and that would remain.
Okay. Scooting over to the left to the first floor. The first floor demo plan? Yeah, there you go.
First floor proposed plan or?
No, demo plan. Real quick.
Sorry.
No problem.
First floor demo plan, right. So here's the garage.
Yep.
That is closed right now.
Right, right. There you go. So you have existing non-conforming side yard setbacks where we'll call it the back corner of the garage is and the back right corner of the house for the purposes of looking at this. So the ordinance does allow for vertical additions if the first floor is to remain, but if the first floor is being demoed, or significantly demolished, then you're starting from scratch from a zoning compliance standpoint. So that's why I ask. I just want to understand, because we have the existing first floor demo plan. I want to make sure that corresponds to the actual first floor plan. And again, understanding what walls will remain. Can the existing garage framing support a story above it? Because there's no framing details. So is your plan to, I guess, sister the walls or go directly vertical?
We would go directly vertical, probably reframe or double up the existing joists if needed for the second floor above. And we would add appropriate structure to open up that garage too. So that would remain. The rear wall and the side wall would remain, and they're in good shape, so they wouldn't have to be demolished and rebuilt.
Well, what else is remaining though? Because if it's just those two walls, that doesn't necessarily cut it. That's what I'm
Yeah,
getting
all
at.
the perimeter walls for the first floor would remain, with the exception of some of the openings in the back wall for the addition.
Okay. And the proposed first floor ceiling height is what?
I believe it's 8 feet, and we have so going to it, we have 9 feet on the first floor.
We're gonna put a beam on top
Right.
of the existing wall.
Right. So again, you're going from 8 to 9. So are you going to keep the existing framing in place and go up, or are you going to sister the beams to achieve, not the beams, but sister the studs to achieve the 9 feet?
So what we normally do, we keep the 2x4 structure, and then we add like a micro lamb. Basically, it would be like a header around the whole perimeter, like would wrap the structure, and then frame above that.
Okay, so you would essentially maintain the integrity of the framing and go vertical.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, so let's go to the first floor, which is the next sheet. So as you can see, we have the proposed going from the garage. So now we'll have a 2-car garage. As you can see, the existing walls would remain a little lighter than some of the new walls. So the new walls are all hatched darker, and the new walls would remain. We have the 2-car garage. Then we have the rear stair between the dining room and the garage, and access to the side yard. And then we have the main doors for the front entry, and we have basically an open 2-story section with a new stairwell that is open to the second floor, and then we have a basement door that goes to the basement below. The first floor to the right, we have a guest room with a bathroom and a closet, and then we have a dining room which would encompass the rear section of the existing house. So basically, those 3 bedrooms that were on the first floor would just be dedicated to a guest room in the front, and then the dining room would take that rear section. And then we open up a nice foyer looking through to the rear of the house, and we have a powder room, and then closets, coat closets, and then coming back to the rear, we have a nice open kitchen, breakfast, and dining, basically a family room in the back that would encompass that whole rear section. And that's basically the first floor addition as discussed. Then there'll be a deck in the back and a few steps down to grade from the deck. So the deck is going to be 12 by 25, and that would be the first floor proposed. Going to the proposed second floor, which is all going to be new now because it was a ranch house, and then we come up the main stair in the front, and then we have the like an open landing in the second floor, and to the right we have bedroom number 3 with closets. Then we have a Jack and Jill bathroom that's shared by bedroom number 3 and bedroom number 2, and then we have a large bedroom over the garage, which is bedroom number 4, And then we have an office area, laundry, and then in the back section, we have the primary bedroom with primary bath and walk-in closet in the rear. So that's the extent of the new second floor. Going to, I believe that would be it for that sheet too, right? So that's, yeah, those two floor plans. Going to the front elevation, basically there's a typo here. It's Taft at Road. It's not with typo. And then looking at the elevation, we have a mix of materials. So what we wanted to do is take this new addition and break up the facade and give it some aesthetic curb appeal. And we mix it with different type of windows, facade entry stone, and different materials for clapboard and hardy plank. Then we have the roof and some gables to break up the roof area on the above. Then we have a nice standing seam metal roof above the new two-car garage. And then we have the stone veneer on the base level of the house. So going to the rear, I'll just go to the rear elevation. So as we discussed before, we have the deck, the sliding doors to the deck from the living area, the kitchen, and then the bedroom above. And then what we've done is we've extended that gable even to give it some more aesthetic appeal and break up that facade with a couple gable ends. And then we have the right side elevation. We have show the different materials, and we have vertical siding above at the gable ends, and then horizontal hardy plank on the first and second floor. So going to the left elevation, similar to the right side. And then we talked about the front elevation. So that would be the extent of the architectural of this proposed addition.
Alex, one question for you. Would you agree that the new rear addition proposed is substantially located place where the existing patio is now?
I would. I'm not sure if you were asking Matt or myself.
Oh, I was actually asking Matt, but you answered my question. Okay. Just want, as far as a disturbance, so you would agree that it minimally disturbs the site, right? Because it's already in the almost the same position as the existing patio. Matt.
Yeah, so all right, so basically what we wanted to do is minimize the impervious coverage and try and keep within that lot coverage ordinance. And so what we reduced some walkway and some driveway, and we've used some of that impervious that's existing, which is above the old patio area. So that would be the extent of the impervious coverage. I believe it would be in keeping with the character of the neighborhood.
Great.
I
believe that's.
I guess, Matt, while you're up, can you just walk us through the height calculations? That was one point in my letter. I see you have a chart there. I just want to understand the existing grade, proposed grade, and how you arrived at the height calculations.
So we have the building elevations shown, and we show the proposed grades around each of the corners. So each corner has the finished grade elevations, and then we've transposed that onto the table for the left side, right side, and then we totaled those up, averaging 103.8. The ridge root of the ridge will be 133.74, giving us a building height of 29.74 feet, where 30 feet is permitted.
Right. Is it accurate to say that the property is relatively flat as it exists?
Yeah, so if you look at the grading, at the curb, close to the front of the house, we have about 102.9 in the front yard, and then in the back we have 3.7. So it's, within 150 feet, it's pretty flat.
Yes, it's 109 and 103, less than a foot.
That's it for me, Mr. Chairman. Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Burns, thank you. Mr. Flores, any questions for the architect? Yeah.
Yeah, regarding the building height, I only have one question. So the elevations that you have proposed on your chart, are those existing elevations or are those going to be proposed elevations? You go,
Very close.
yeah, you can go to your charge. Yeah, well, very close.
On
You
the
only have
chart, or
three.
you wanna-
You have, just to exceed the maximum build height, you have 3 inches to play around with. You're going to be right under that. So you have not much to play around with. That's why I'm asking that question. Is that proposed elevations or that's existing elevations?
Yeah, so the proposed are in the rectangles, the existing are, which have the little X's next to them. So
Okay, so in order for you to calculate the building, well, the dwelling height right now, you're taking in consideration the proposed elevation, not the existing.
yeah, that's how we calculated it.
Okay,
But the variations are very minimal.
so you're proposing some grading around the property then?
Yeah, we're regrading, along the property, but it's, as you can see, it's pretty flat. It's not going to require any extent of fill or cut to achieve that.
Yeah, maybe I suggest you to show some of the grading in that area. I mean, we have been issues with neighbors complaining about runoff in, different locations in town, so. I'm sorry. I would just suggest, to show where the regradings of the properties are gonna be taking place at, just to see how the runoff is gonna affect them. To the to your neighbor, to the neighbors, it will be to the east and to the west.
Yeah, so it's pretty, there's not going to be like any extent of real grading where it's going to really pitch like drastically towards the neighbor's property. It's basically how it is now. So, but we could provide a swale around the house if needed to address any drainage.
Okay, that was my only comment, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Flores. Let me turn to the board now for questions to the architect. Mr. Gibbons, I'll start with you, please.
Okay, so the actual square footage of this house upon completion is how large?
So we have it on the table. Let me go to the table
You said
here
about 20.
on the zoning worksheet.
Yeah, the building footprint.
So we have basically 1,705 square feet, and then the proposed would be 2,512 square feet.
But the house itself, that's just the footprint.
Of the footprint.
Yeah, the footprint. So then,
House is a lot larger than that.
so we have the second floor.
About 5,000.
Yeah, I can get you.
Around that.
Yeah, it's about well, with the garage, so with the garage about 400 feet, so you take about
4,500.
Yeah, about
Ish.
4,500.
Okay. So one thing about your second floor, just looking at your setup there, where does bedroom 4 go to the bathroom?
They would that would basically, we have an ability to create a bathroom if needed inside the bedroom for that room, but we're not proposing anything right now.
That should be noted. I mean, as of right now, that person's going through another bedroom or going downstairs into, there's actually no full bath for that person to go into without going into someone's bedroom.
Yeah, we can add another bathroom there.
you've got a lot of bedrooms and offices, and just looking at it logically, that doesn't make sense.
We can,
I think that's something that would need to be addressed prior to.
mhm.
That's what I have for now. But I would, I am concerned that the house might be completely knocked down, and the side yard setbacks that Mr. Barron's brought up could be a problem, because this house, obviously it's a pre-existing non-conforming, but this house sits very close to that property line. And I would just be concerned that all these walls get knocked down and we build a house very large next to the properties. Actually, I did have another point. We're going a bit over, and we have a pretty large deck. Has any thought been given to lessen the size of the home to get to the 35? Because this is a pretty large house for River Edge, and a pretty large deck in the backyard. So is any consideration given to getting yourself within 35%?
Basically, I mean, we're 3.4% over. And the applicant wants to, make good use out of that rear deck for furniture and other things. So that was the intention, to create that deck in the back.
I'm just looking at a 5-bedroom house, plus an office, plus a 300-foot deck in the backyard on an oversized lot. I know it's a pie shape, I get that. But it is still on an oversized lot and a very large house.
Mr. Gibbons.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, I have the applicant does want to say a few words as to reducing the size if need be. Do you mind if I bring him up just for the for like a minute?
Well, I mean, Mr. Chair, you can do, if we want to go that route, or let everyone else ask their questions. I can certainly wait on my answer for now.
Yeah, why don't you, let's, Mr. Corrosian, why don't we give the board a chance to, you can hear.
Sure, of course.
The board's.
I can certainly wait.
Yeah, you can hear the board's collective comments, and then.
Agreed.
We can go from there.
If that's the case, I'm good for right now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gibbons. I'm gonna turn to, Mr. Cray.
Yeah, couple of questions. If you could go to the zoning requirements. Initially, Mr. Rosian, you said you were only asking for one variance.
2 variances.
It's only the 27%, but obviously the lot coverage and the improved lot coverage are both variances required, correct?
Correct. Just 2 variances required, just the improved lot and the maximum lot coverage.
Right. Now, just for to kind of maybe underline or emphasize what Mr. Gibbons was mentioning, this is an oversized lot. It's roughly 33% larger than the typical requirement as far as lot size here, right? And if I look at a 7,500 square foot lot, and I look at 35% coverage, that's about 2,600 square feet. If I look at the 10,000 plus foot lot at the 38%, that's just a hair under 4,000 square feet, which is more than 50% more coverage than we would have on a typical lot. So even though he's saying, it's only 3% over what's required, it's a lot of ground coverage. And I think, from the standpoint of a lot of the issues that we've had in this town as far as, runoff, et cetera, it's something that we have spent a lot of time on trying to minimize the impact. And, again, with the size of the house that you're looking at, with 3 dining areas, 4 bedrooms, and a lot of things going on there, I would hope there would be some effort to bring that within the 35%, because it would be, I think it would be important.
Sure.
The second question I have, and I don't know if who would speak to this, but I, I would like to understand what the justification is here for the variance. You know, is there, again, some public good that comes out of this, or is there some hardship we're addressing? But, you know, we need some justification to say what is the, you know, what is the reason for the variance request and why we should grant it? So if you could talk to
Of
that.
course. Yeah, our planner, Alex Doherty, will testify as to that point.
Okay.
And as far as the, you know, I realize River Edge, this is my first time in front of River Edge. I see that your concern is the runoff. I'm actually texting my client as we speak, and he is amicable to, you know, considering reducing parts of the home and the, just to make sure that, you know, the board is comfortable knowing that the applicant is going to seek actively, should this application be approved, to accommodate for this larger than usual site, and make sure that this runoff issue does not come up in the future.
Can I just pause there? Unless you have any further questions, Mr. Craig.
No, I'm good.
I'm just going to suggest if the applicant's willing to reduce it, there's a, you know, an opportunity to have a fully conforming dwelling and not, you know, take this off the board's agenda. So, I mean, do you have any specifics about what your client's willing to offer at this point? Or, you know, I'd hate to spend another hour and just speculate. I mean, is it better for you guys to regroup and come back with a specific plan, or potentially even just come back with a conforming plan and we deal with it at the building department? I mean, it's certainly up to your client.
If I was there, I could speak to him. Let me shoot him a text really quick. If you just give me 60 seconds. Mr. Gibbons, is there a way we could chat in a separate room, the architect and the applicant and I? Typically, I would, you know, kind of pull them aside and whisper in their ear, but just want to ask a few questions. It'd be easier to speak to them vocally instead of texting.
All right, tell you what we'll do then in this case. All right, it's 8:45. Would 10 minutes work for you?
That's more than enough. Absolutely.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll take a brief adjournment and we'll let you guys caucus, and we'll have everybody reconvene at 8:55.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay. We have a motion from the board to
moved.
adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cray. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we stand in adjournment for 10 minutes. We'll see everybody back at 8:55.
Thank you so much.
No, we're in recess. So you're not gonna go with Griffin Laura, correct? Okay.
We got an adjournment. You don't have any, buzzes or alarms out of the board? No. Okay, all right.
Okay, folks, if you're listening, maybe you could just start to come back online, start your video again. Ryan and Jim, you guys around? Gary, Gary, if you start your video, I think you're here.
There we go.
Okay, looks like we've got
Chris, we're back.
everyone back. Okay. Time now is 8:56 p.m. I'd like to reconvene the meeting of the Municipal Land Use Board of the Borough of Riveredge at 8:56 p.m. Ms. Steinle, would you kindly call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor,
Here.
Mr. Caslin,
Here.
Ms. Boland,
Here.
Mr. Merman,
Here.
Mr. Cray,
Here.
Mr. Arkelian. Oh, he is
He's-
here, just on
Jim's
mute.
here. Yep.
Here.
Councilman,
Here.
Mr. Gibbons,
Here.
Mr. Esposito.
Here.
All right, everyone's back.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Steinle. Mr. Corrosion?
Thanks, everyone. So we reconvened. The architect is going to testify as to how far we're willing to reduce to make the project make sense. So I'm going to bring up Javier and Matt again, and they're going to testify as to their reductions, we'll call it.
Okay, so basically what we have, the building on the lot, building coverage, percentage, we're over 2.2%, which, equals about, 230 square feet. What we're doing, we'd like to do is, cut that in half and make that, the most on the, we take about 115 square feet off of the addition. So that would be 1.1% on that building area. So we'd be closer in conformity with the building area. So we're taking 3 feet off. What we probably most likely going to do, we want to do is take 3 feet off the right side of the rear addition and 3 feet off the left side and reduce the size of those of that and give more side yard also to those walls.
Yeah,
Can you
just,
put up the
just
plan?
aren't you 3.4 feet off? Or 3.4% off? Not 2.4.
Yeah, that's the lot coverage versus the improved lot coverage. The lot coverage is 2.2 off, the improved lot coverage is 3.4.
Yeah, so they need to address both sides of that.
So that would reduce the lot coverage, all the impervious coverage, all in also with that. So it also ups 1.5%
Less.
would be less on that too. So it'd be more conformity with the improved lot coverage and the building coverage. So
Mr. Evans, could you show us on a plan? Because I'm not fully understanding what the proposal is.
okay, I gotta share the plan. Hold on. Okay, so looking at the worksheet, we have impervious coverage. We have looking at the maximum lot improved coverage, we have 35%. And then we have 38.4%, then we have 25% required, and we have 27.2. So we're 2.2% over the lot coverage And what we would do is going to the rear addition, we would take 3 feet off the left side, 3 feet off the right side, taking a total of 6 by 20 square feet. That would reduce it, and we would looking for more closer to 1.1% and building coverage over the maximum.
Yeah, instead of 40, it's gonna be 36. We will do
So then,
34.
so it's 1.1% on the lot coverage that's being reduced. That would be the same on the improved lot coverage, so you'd only go from 38.4 to 37.3, correct?
Yes. So it would be more in keeping with those two numbers, the 25 and 35 numbers.
Yeah. And remember that the improved coverage is more.
You know, I was hoping to see a little more, to be honest. You got a lot of house there. You got 20 by 18 bedrooms. You've got 3 dining areas. You've got offices. You've got, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a big addition. There's a big deck on the back, and you basically are taking 120 square feet off. It's a de minimis number.
Why don't we give let's give other board members a chance to provide some context on this. Let's see, Mr. Arkelian.
Oh, I think I was muted,
So-
Mr. Cat.
I'm unmuted, yep. I guess my question is more for the homeowner than the architect right now. I mean, I agree with Mr. Cray that it's a huge house and seems to be a lot going on here. And I guess my question that I'm gonna have is, does he have a big family? Or is this a house that he's gonna flip after it's done? I'm curious as to, where we're going with the hardship, what the hardship would be if we, if he had to shrink this house down to something that was more in line with a typical River Edge house. Maybe his attorney can answer some of those questions or not. Otherwise, I'll wait for the homeowner to come on.
Hey, I'm here. With respect, thank you. I do have a large family. My parents live there currently right now. That's my home since I was a child. Been in the town for about over 15 years, and my dream was to build a large home for my kids to go where I was my childhood home.
So your parents are going to live there too?
My parents will live there. Yes, my parents are there now.
And how many children do you have?
I have one child now and then another on the way. God bless.
God bless. Okay. I'm good for now. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Boland?
Yes, I as far as the lot coverage and the lot being so large, I don't really think I'm not comfortable going above the 25% for the lot coverage because it doesn't leave room for anything else on the site itself. So I don't really see the hardship for the building coverage variance.
Okay.
Chairman and the board, so excuse me. I was actually speaking. I was on mute though before Mr. Arkelian came up. I wanted to ask Matt, is there any further reductions we can make as far as the deck goes? Is there any more room that we could just cutoff just to make that, I guess, make the 25%. Is that possible, Matt?
Well, yeah, we have the deck right now is 25 by 12. It's about 600 square feet. Let me just see, hold on, 25 by 12. It's 300 square feet, I'm sorry. And so what we could do is reduce the deck also, and make it 20 by 12. I mean, the 12 is nice to have because you want to be able to have some circulation and furniture on the deck also. So 20 would be the width, taking 5 feet off that. So
200 square feet.
yeah.
Where does it land as far as lot coverage?
So we going from the deck, we had 300 going down to 240 square feet. And that would reduce the coverage in
100 square feet.
yeah.
Okay. I guess anyone from the board, Mr. Gibbons, is that Mrs. Boland? Is that does it appease the board as far as I understand the board wants, the lot coverage to be in line. We are running we're trying to run it as tight as possible, but is that sufficient for the board?
I think my calculations would reduce the lot coverage to 26.2 about.
Okay.
If that's
I
correct.
think, I mean, I assume Ms. Bowen would say the same. This is just, it's just a very large house. And again, we haven't heard, I understand you have, the applicant has a large family, but this is an extremely large house for 6 people, if I'm doing the math right. A large deck, it's a lot to ask here to go over on a large property. A 5,000 square foot house is larger than most houses in town. I just think you're asking a lot. I think you could get this to a reasonable number of 25 and 35 and still have a very large house on the property. That's my opinion.
Mr. Corrosion, I'm gonna sort of tag on to what Mr. Behrens was saying earlier. I'd like to offer you the opportunity, I think, at this point, to consider whether you and your client, your professionals, want to go back and reconsider your application, given what you've been hearing thus far from the few members of the board who've had the opportunity to actually give comment, at least insofar as the architect's testimony is concerned. I think I think there's some reconsideration may be appropriate at this point on your application. And I offer that to you at this point. If that's something you would like us to consider, certainly we could consider carrying the application for you, give you the opportunity to have more time to caucus with your client and the professionals.
Right.
And Mr. Chair, I mean, you still have just a logistical issue upstairs
That's right.
of a bedroom that doesn't have a bathroom. So the plans, even as is, are not feasible for a family.
Yeah, I would strongly urge you at this point, Mr. Corrosion, to consider that option.
Sure. Carrying it, does that mean we'd have to renotice?
No,
No.
Right.
unless you are adding additional variances, you
Sure.
wouldn't.
Okay. Give me one moment, please. Let me just mute myself and talk to my client.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Spoke to my client, and he is willing to reduce it down to the conforming percentages for the 25%, 35% lot coverage. I'm just going to ask you, I guess, can you advise me, is it appropriate to get the planning testimony out tonight, or should we?
I'm going to defer to our professionals, but from my opinion, I would recommend that corrected plans showing what is actually going to be the proposal be provided to the board for review prior to proceeding further. But I'll defer to Mr. Behrens and Mr. Flores.
Well, I mean, if the applicant's going to conform to the zoning ordinance, I'm not sure that it needs to come back to the board, which means that they'd be submitting fully compliant plans, which potentially could be approved administratively. Obviously, we'd have to address certain issues as far as, no permitted regrading of the property. We'd need framing details and some better height calculations. But if you submit a fully conforming application, it would no longer be a board application, in my opinion.
Correct.
So my recommendation would be to carry this matter to the next meeting, just on the agenda. No other notice is needed. And then when you just submit a letter to Ed Alter saying that the applicant is going to submit conforming plans and that the application shall be withdrawn.
Marina, can I just tell you the next meeting has already 3 applications?
It's just for administrative purposes. Just on the record tonight, we're going to carry the application to that meeting, and then you can submit a letter to Ed Alter, our board clerk, just saying that the application will be withdrawn because the applicant's going to submit conforming plans. And if things change, if you don't want to submit conforming plans, you want to continue with this application, just let Ed know and we'll reschedule you and just carry you to a future date.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. That sounds great.
Marina, for the public's benefit, what's the next meeting date that would be carried at?
To November 29th. So
Can we take
that's what would you like to do
Yes.
tonight? Okay.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to carry from the board, please.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make said motion that this application be carried to the next meeting with.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Merman. Is there a second?
Second.
I think I have Mr. Gibbons on a second. We just do a voice vote?
Yep, a voice vote is fine.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? Okay, motion passes. The application, Marina, do you want to go ahead and make the announcement?
I can read it in. The application for Coretta Investments LLC, 298 Taft Road, block 1108, lot 28 will be carried to the November 29th hearing date, with no further notice required. If anyone from the public is here to comment on this application, you'll have to come back on that date, but please check the agenda as this matter may be withdrawn.
Great. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Have a great
President.
night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Pleasure.
Okay, on our next, excuse me, next item on our agenda this evening under new business is the applicant Joe and Deborah Dabdy. Property is 390 Fifth Avenue. This is block 906, lot 39. The applications is for installation of a new in-ground pool surrounding patio and related equipment. Seeks variances for improved lot coverage, bulk and yard requirements as well. I believe the applicant is here this evening. Ms. Dabdy, good evening.
Hello, if you please raise your right hand, I'll swear you in.
Person in the attendees section, Michael.
Okay. All right, I will promote him to panelist. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, and so could you please state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address for the record?
Michael Panayotou. My last name is spelled P-A-N as in Nancy, A-Y-I-O-T as in Tom, O-U. And I live at 432 Fairmount Ave in Jersey City.
All right, and the applicant as well?
Deborah Dabdy. Spelled D-A-B-D-E-E, 390 Fifth Avenue, River Edge, New Jersey.
All right, and will you be both just providing fact testimony, or is there expert testimony as well?
I'm her witness. I'm her pool guy.
Okay, so could you provide just some information as regarding your title and qualifications?
Yeah, sure. I'm one of the general managers of Pool Town Inc.
Okay. All right.
All right. Good evening, Ms. Dabdy. If you would, for the benefit of the board, give the description of the application you submitted and what your proposed modifications are to your property. I think in particular, one thing, if you wouldn't mind, if you could clarify for us, I know I think Mr. Burns mentioned earlier, there was a question as to which plan you've now submitted that you're seeking for the board's review. I think we've seen a couple of different iterations. So if you wouldn't mind, as part of your statement, just clarifying which plan you'd like us to take into account.
Absolutely. I'll start off with that. The plan that was submitted in hard copy, 16 versions, that is the accurate plan. It's dated 7/25.
Just to be clear, is that the plan prepared by the engineer or by Pool Town?
Yeah.
This is a plan provided by Pool Town.
By the engineer, actually. It's provided by James Macarella Jr.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so just so we make sure that has a revision date on it of 10/11/23, is that the plan?
The one that I'm looking at has a revision date of 7/25/23 that has a infiltration trench on it and an existing seepage pit.
Oh, that's the actual date, but at the bottom it should have, if we're looking at the correct.
Oh, the revision, I'm sorry.
The revision date, yeah, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
10/11/23?
10/11/23.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so the proposal is to provide an in-ground pool as shown in the plan provided, and we are seeking additional lot coverage. I don't really have much other detail aside from the fact that the patio is actually going in the same place of the existing patio, so it shouldn't impact any of the coverage. And there will be an infiltration trench that's added to handle the seepage pit that is being removed.
Well, actually, let me get involved. There's actually a second seepage pit that's not shown in the position where the pool is on older plans. It is on the property. We marked it out. I do not see it on here. We have an existing seepage pit that's going to remain. The other seepage pit would actually be in the pool's body. And so what we ended up doing was creating a plan to allow water runoff to go into an infiltration trench that's rated at about the same gallonage, if not more, than the existing pit.
Okay,
Do
I'm
either of
gonna-
you have the capability to share your plan? I could do it if you need me to.
Deborah, do you have it?
So there are 2 pages to this. So this is the first page.
All right, so maybe again, just walk us through it. I know you mentioned there's an existing patio, which you're essentially replacing with a new patio, pool, drainage.
Yes, currently the backyard is situated so that the patio that is drawn here is around the same size as a patio that exists. And there are 2 seepage pits of 1,500 and 500 gallons. One is here and one is approximately here. So this one would remain. The pool would basically, concrete around the pool would basically connect into the new proposed patio right here. And then once this infiltration trench is added, as Michael just mentioned, that will take care, hopefully, of the second seepage pit that is getting removed.
Well, I'm gonna jump on the drainage. So it was brought to my, I'm sorry, can you hear me, guys? Yes. It was brought to my attention that in a previous application, I don't know the exact date, you were approved to have 2 seepage pit in the back, one for 500 gallons and another one for 1,500 gallons, for a totaling of 2,000 gallons, right? Now, I know it doesn't show there, but we also performed some inspections and we know that one of the seepage pit is going to be affected by the location of the pool. All right. Now, the calculations that I reviewed that have been prepared by James E. Mascarilla Jr. Does not provide sufficient storage for the improved lot coverage that you're seeking for. I know you provide the infiltration trench is not big enough. Just throwing numbers right there. So you previously were supposed to have 2,000 gallons totally in the backyard. With a new impervious, with a new pool that you're proposing and the new patio that you're adding in, you're supposed to add roughly another 1,000 gallons more. So totally roughly 3,000 gallons for the lot. The infiltration, the proposed infiltration trench is just only providing 56 cubic feet, which is a totaling of, I can tell you right now the number. Just give me my calculator. So that would be, let me see, 56 times 7.48. So that's like around 400 gallons. You're short by 600 gallons, and plus whatever CPHP is being affected by, whatever CPHP is being affected by the pool. Not to mention that you're seeking for a variance of 47% on, on the improved lot coverage. That's all. That's all I wanted to bring it up. That you were supposed to existing supposed to be 2 more catch basins in there, and then you're supposed to add some measurements to capture the extra improved lot coverage that you need to be in there, which is totaling of 3,000 gallons, which you don't provide that. If I'm looking at these plans correctly.
Is it okay if I ask a quick question?
Sure.
If we were to provide another seepage pit onto the plan, somewhat above where the existing is, like right where the mouse is, if we were to put another seepage
Correct.
tank there along with the infiltration trench, would that be sufficient for drainage?
Well, you will have to provide the calculations, but if you provide a 1,000-gallon speed there, it should be more than enough. However, I want to point something out that you have to confirm that you have a really good, that you're going to be able to infiltrate this through the soil. So you just gotta perform some tests, some soil testing. $300, $400, we just confirm what the permeability rate of the soil is to make sure it's going to work. Because there is no point of you putting the seepage pit if it's not going to infiltrate. So.
Understood.
That's it. That's the only comment I have.
Barron's, any other questions?
I mean, no, the application is pretty straightforward. I guess just some observations, and Ms. Stabdy, you can, confirm or deny either way. But I guess along with the pool, you're proposing a 5-foot high solid fence. Is that accurate?
correct.
And I think when we initially spoke, we discussed relocating the pool potentially to avoid having to remove trees in the back. Is that, I guess, part of the decision to locate the pool closer to the house?
That is correct also.
Okay, so, I mean, board members, beyond that, it's a pool application with a patio, so, turn it over to you. Thank you.
Mr. Barron's, just one quick question. What is the percentage, the lot coverage that being proposed now? What's the actual number? Because we have conflicting numbers here. I just want to make
Well,
sure.
I would rely on the engineer's calculations. When there were two different plans with two different numbers, that's where I thought there was a discrepancy. But in looking at, again, the engineering plan dated revised October 11th, 23, it does show a proposed lot coverage calculation of 42.4%. So that appears to be the
Correct
appropriate
number, right?
coverage calculation.
Okay,
Right.
so that's the number we're working. Okay.
Right, and
Okay.
I did some rough calculations. The new pool on concrete, it shows as 961 square feet. I believe the pool, and you guys, the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the body of the water is approximately 13 by 30 or 390 square feet. And that equates to about 4.6% of the property.
That sounds about right.
Okay, and the
So it should be 13 and change by 40. Correct. By 30, I'm sorry. Correct.
by 30, okay. And we'll call it the squarish area of the patio directly out of the rear door is about 15 feet by 17 feet.
That
Give
I
or
don't,
take.
I don't have that in front of me. But that seems about correct if you're looking, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Barnes. If I may, could I start with Ms. Boland, please?
Have you considered taking away the existing patio or at least reducing it significantly to try to lower your lot coverage request?
I'm willing to do that, yes.
That's my only question.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Esposito.
I'm okay.
Okay. Mr. Mayor.
So if I understand it right, we're talking about 42.4 for improved lot coverage when our maximum is 35, and you currently have 37.2. Are those numbers correct? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mr. Barnes, do we have a?
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure who that was directed, but I believe that's accurate. Yes.
Yeah, basically, you see the plan. There is existing lot coverage numbers in the plan. I mean, you can scroll all up a little bit. Yeah, there you go. You see there you go. Existing lot coverage. The first the first column, and then you see the percentage at the bottom, 34.8. So they're on the 35% as right now.
So Jason, normally when Mr. Costa is here, he talks about when we're being asked to consider going over improved lot coverage. He talks about the benefit of seepage pits and how it can offset or make palatable a number above 35. I don't know if I want to go all the way to 42.4, but Mr. Flores, if they came up to the 3,000 gallons, which I think you testified to before, would that be enough to offset some? I think the 42.4 is too high, but what sort of flow to the neighbors would that offset? Would it offset all of the flow of water to the neighbors, or some? In your professional opinion, is 3,000 seepage pit and trench, if they got up to that, is that how much of a burden or a nuisance would it be to the neighbors?
Well, they will. The first thing that they have to do is soil testing to see if if it's gonna percolate. Well, if the test comes, that they don't have percolation at all, then the water, instead of going downwards, is gonna go sideways. So then it's gonna affect the neighbors. Then it's gonna affect the neighbors. That's why one of the conditions is they move forward with the application should be that some soil testing, just to confirm that they have percolation in there. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to have a seepage pit. And something else that I want to point it out is that, Tom, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but the River Edge does not take credit for a water body on a pool. Like Tom said, I think it is like roughly 400 square feet, which represent 4.5% of the improved lot coverage as a water. It's just water. It's not that they're building something else, so it's just there. So the order does not take credit for that. Like in different towns, you're gonna put a pool, the water body doesn't count as an impervious lot coverage. It's just any improvement around the pool that counts for it. But I believe River Edge does not take in consideration that, right, Tom?
Well, the board has discussed this fairly recently, and it's been decided that the body of the water does count toward impervious.
Okay.
Because it's not impervious, it's improved lot coverage, and I think
Okay.
historically that's been true.
Okay, so then to put it in terms of like if they need 3,000 gallons, they might not need 3,000 gallons, at all, because the water body of the pool is not going to be drained into this seepage pit. It's gonna be standing right there. So it's all the new patio and the sidewalk that is going around, and I guess the existing roof leaders of the house that needs to be connected into this seepage pit. In reality, I see an increase of, if I'm doing this correct, we're going to increase from 34.8% to roughly like a 37%. That's another 400 square feet that they need to take in consideration. Because you see the new pool is 961. Well, that's the new pool in the concrete, but the water body is roughly like 400 square feet.
Okay.
That's like somebody pointed out, what if you get rid of the patio in the back? Yeah, then you're getting closer to 35% there.
Yeah, because it is my concern how it affects the neighbors. Plus, I'm not quite sure. I'd like to hear testimony on what is the positive effect as well as what is the hardship. That's my comments. Thank you.
The positive, to me or to you're asking the?
No, that would be to the client.
To the client.
Application.
To the applicant.
One comment I would like to make is that in relation to the neighbors, everybody, the neighbors are on higher ground than our property. So currently nothing that we have on our yard runs into the neighbors. It pretty much runs towards the street. We have French drains around the side of the house already that we installed after moving in. And we've been here for about 4 years. And I think at this point we've seen how the water patterns have run. And it's never gone into the neighbors, and I think if anything, theirs go into our yards, because we're at the low point. We will, based on the pool, we will add a fence, and I think we will improve at least some of our privacy with the neighbors. And by adding the fence, we currently have nothing. Our yards kind of run into each other, and it's very open. I don't know if this is relevant, but we do seem to have a lot of deer coming through the yard. So I think that's another plus for me, because I have a family that I think lives back there. So these are definite pluses, at least from my perspective.
Thank you. No further question or comment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Cray?
Yeah, question, the existing seepage pits that you have, were they installed in a recent renovation or construction, or when did they get put in place?
Prior to us purchasing the house in 2019. So somebody had renovated the house that was here, and then they were added, I think maybe 2018, if I had to estimate.
Okay, so it wasn't a renovation you had done, so that previous variance that would have been needed for the ground coverage, you weren't part of that process, because that happened before you owned the house.
Correct.
If you had to kind of throw a dart, you said you'd be willing to look at resizing that patio. What kind of change would you make on it? How much would you want to give up, I guess?
So currently, it pretty much looks this way from the previous builders. I'd be willing to cut it back until the stairs. So right about, if that helps.
Can I just maybe offer something? If you are talking about whittling away coverage, certainly you'd want a functional patio, and I'm wondering if maybe the concrete around the pool would make a more sensible trade. I don't want to speak for the board, or and this may not even resolve the issue, but as far as trade-offs go, if you might want a place to at least put a table and chairs and a grill. So if you cut it back, I think like you were saying, basically from the right side of the patio to the stairs. I just want you to make sure you understand what you may or may not be agreeing to. That's my point.
I do understand that once that happens, it won't be functional as a patio, but I'd be very open to looking into a more narrow surround of the pool if that could be the trade-off. So if we took, I believe it's 3 feet surround.
It's 3 feet all the way around, yeah. And to have a accessible walkway, I just as a pool guy, I just don't recommend less than 2, because then we're starting to play with where we can walk around the pool.
Is there an option also, if I cut back the patio entirely, if there is an option to do something that is not considered impervious? I would look into that just to kind of make up for it, where it wouldn't be a concrete patio if that becomes the issue.
I mean, the only alternative would be lawn or like a mulch area, something more or less that's natural, or a landscaped area. And again, I don't know if that's something you want to commit to.
Right.
It's not my preference, I'll be honest. I guess maybe the question should be, how much more do I need to cut back in order to make it passable? Because if it doesn't need to cut back as far as I'm suggesting, then perhaps that's the question.
Well, I think certainly thus far you've heard that what's being proposed now is needs to come back closer to what's required at the so the closer we can get. I don't it requires some math.
Mr. Chair,
maybe the thing to do is let's go through the rest of the board and get their input, and then we can kind of come back to those questions. And Mr. Gibbons, since you raised your hand, why don't you take the floor?
I think I did some math. It looks like the property is 8,485 square feet. I took that off this current drawing. My personal comfort level is around 40%. So if I did the math right, 8485 times 0.024, I came out with 203 square feet. Someone tell me if I'm wrong with that number, but personally, I wouldn't care where you got that from, whether it was from the pool, from the concrete around it, from the patio. Personally, I'd be comfortable if it was at that number. And again, I don't care where you get it from. Patio, concrete, pool, whatever makes sense.
Okay. Ms. Gibbons, Mr. Arkelian.
The only, we've discussed the pool issue time and time again, and we really never came to a conclusion on how we were going to deal with a body of water, because some towns don't consider it, as was testified by our engineer, and some do, like River Edge. So, cutting back the concrete around a pool, I think, is somewhat dangerous for kids walking around it, and making the patio kind of unusable. I don't know. I personally don't have too much of a problem the way it is. I don't like going over 40%, like everybody else. But when there's a pool involved, I tend to be personally a little more flexible. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right. I wouldn't cut around the pool, the concrete around the pool so quickly. In the winter, you may want to get one of those winter covers that require you to drill into it and have some area to be able to lock the winter cover in. So you may want to talk to your pool people about that. I'm not like everybody else here. I'm not thrilled with anything over 40%. And frankly, I've maintained all along that if the town has said 35%, then in order to go over 35%, we have to see some sort of hardship, and certainly we have to want to see some sort of improvement for the rest of River Edge. And we understand that it would certainly improve your circumstance, and we appreciate the fact that that's why you're coming. Have you considered a smaller pool? It's a sizable pool that you're putting in. I understand you may want to do laps, but a smaller pool you can still have fun in and enjoy. That may be something to consider. One of the questions I have for the professionals is just looking at the size of the backyard. Is there sufficient room? And I just don't know what the size of seepage pits are, but is there sufficient room to put the seepage pits that would be able to handle the overflow in that area that we're looking at?
It's going to be very tight, but if the soil conditions comes acceptable, he's going to be able to install 2,000 gallon seepage pit in the back.
And 2,000 is going to be sufficient.
2,000 is going to be more than enough. Yes. I'm reading the application, and then they were approved for 1,500, and then he need another like 1,000 gallons. So, and they got the patio back to 2,000, around 2,000 gallons is what she's going to need.
Okay.
So two seepage pits.
All right. I echo everybody else's comments, and certainly I agree with the mayor that we need to hear about some sort of hardship in order to at least consider this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Mr. Merman.
Okay, I might want to consider reducing the pool size, but I got a question from Michael from Pool Town. Is this a gunite pool cast in place, or is this a prefab that you bring into the site?
This is a vinyl liner swimming pool.
A vinyl liner. Okay. So basically, the pool size is fixed. Is that it?
We'd be able to amend the pool size. I was talking with my client before. Maybe a 12 by 30 would help get the pool size down to under 40, and then also reducing slightly the area around the pool would also help curb a lot of the lot coverage that would exist without creating too much of a change in the pool. But it would help. It would help.
Okay. Personally, from where I'm sitting, I like to see it reduce the pool size. My experience with pools is you probably want to keep that walkway width, and the councilman also gave you a good reason for your winterization. One thing I would like to explore slightly with you, because you folks are coming up with a hybrid drainage system, seepage system here, including your infiltration trench.
Correct.
What filter medium are you proposing on your filter? Are you got rapid sand, diatomaceous, or what?
So we were gonna fill with it. Well, this is the engineer's drawing, and the engineer pretty much talked to us about smaller stone rock to go into the trench and basically to go in.
No, that's not what I mean for. You're on your pool filter.
Oh, on the actual pool filter, sand.
Sand. Okay, all right. Because I was concerned about backwashing diatomaceous earth into your hybrid drainage system here.
Well, we'd be able to switch that to a cartridge filter, and it has the same, if not better, efficacy than a sand filter. So that wouldn't be a hard change to make.
No, that's your call. I just did not want to have the possibility of fouling your hybrid drainage system here.
Understood.
Okay, all right. I didn't want that to be overlooked, because in down the road that can become very serious.
Understood.
Yes, I don't know if I mentioned it. I personally lean for the 40%. I think if you reduce the pool to your next size, you might be able to keep more of that patio at the house. So I'd like you folks to explore those features. That's where I stand, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vernon, and I would concur with what the board has already expressed in terms of size reduction for the pool as well. I have nothing further to add at this point. Let's, I guess the question then for the applicant is that, would you consider reducing the pool size then, given what you've heard thus far from the board?
Yes, I believe that Michael had said that 12 by 30 is an excise down, and if between that and reducing some of the patio would get me to that 40%, I can do that.
Okay. Okay. At this point, I think, well, let's open up to the public. Ms. Stiley, do we have anybody in the public?
Yes. Could you just stop sharing your screen? Thank you. There we go.
Okay.
Yes, so we can open to the public.
Okay, I have a motion to open to the public, please.
Come
Thank you, Mr. Cray. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Boland. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, any abstain? All right, at this time, we are now open to the public for comment on this application.
So we do have a member of the public. If you would like to comment, please raise your hand on Zoom. There we go. Okay. And you can please just state your name and provide your address for the record.
Sure. My name is Lori Sinella, 285 Princeton Drive. I just actually became involved in these land use because I got a letter 2 weeks ago, and I spoke at that meeting, and I didn't realize that the variance granting, I actually thought it was really more for hardships and for very extenuating circumstances. And I'm kind of realizing now that over the last 5 years, we've gone from 30% to 35%, and now it seems to be the acceptable number is 40. So what I'm concerned with as a resident of the town is that we're actually getting this oversized development. The development that's happening is really out of proportion to the lot sizes, and it's trending up and up and up, and in a very short period of time. And obviously the previous property was a situation that speaks to that point. And it's just concerning in general that a lot of these things are people's wants. I appreciate that you want your home to be your oasis and, where you have tranquility. And I get that. But I don't know if there's a point that we have to start thinking about limiting what is being allowed on every single lot in town. Because if we all went to 40, 42, 45%, this town would have a very different flavor as far as development, the size of the homes. And I brought it up at the last meeting, and I'm not saying specifically on Fifth, but on Taft, they're off a valley. There's been some major flooding. The soil here the water does not permeate the soil well because it's a very sandy clay-based soil in my particular neighborhood. I can't speak to every other neighborhood in town. It's called River Edge. I mean, there's just a lot of brooks and water flowing through the town and underground and water tables. And I feel like just this level of development and kind of accepting now 40 across the board when 35 is what is supposedly the limit is something we should really think about and keep in check. And I do appreciate all of you putting in your time and looking at this in depth, but I just have a concern in general about, I'm really going to call it the overdevelopment of these lots, and particularly the lots on my side of town, because they are the ones that are, the 75 frontage and, 115 or larger going back, and covering these lots with the size of these buildings is seemingly out of proportion to what the property should handle. And I appreciate you guys just really proceeding a little more cautiously and granting these variances a little more carefully. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else?
No one else is in attendance.
Okay. All right. At this point, we'll take a motion to close to the public.
Moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Boland's the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? Okay. This time we're now closed to the public for this application. Mr. Merman.
Do we need any further discussion, or are you ready for a motion?
Well, let me open it to the board. Do we have any further comments, questions from the board?
Well, have we decided anything on, are we sticking with the 42.4? Has the applicant decided on any reduction?
Well,
No,
I think
but-
that's, yeah, I think that's going to be oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought the applicant had agreed to, but Ms. Dabney, if you would confirm what you're willing to agree to.
Yes, I do agree to that. And there are two more sizes. 12 by 24 is another pool size that would be sufficient. And I do believe that having a pool of this size is not a huge impact on the yard. Currently, I have a yard that is not really usable with having two children, and there's grass there and there's a small patio, but there isn't really a lot of other use. So I think that adding this feature was, helping to make better use of the property.
So at a 12 by 24 size, I'm positive, Mr. Flores, I don't know if you can do some quick math on that. Where does that put us in terms of coverages?
Okay, so I just did a really quick math. So in order for her to be under the 40%, she needs to reduce roughly 210 square feet. Just doing the math really quick, if she goes for a pool size of 12 by 24, and we deduct that from the new pool and concrete proposed lot coverage, which is 961, she's reducing like around 288 square feet, which she only needs to reduce to 110, so she's there.
Okay.
I don't think that's. I don't know if that's right.
Okay, maybe I did the
I
math
mean,
wrong.
30 by 13 is 390. And this is just the pool, not the concrete. And the 24 by 12 would be 288.
Correct, 288, correct.
And then the concrete would be, what would the reduction in concrete be with that? If we kept 3 feet?
Okay, so like I just did it this way. So 42.4% right now is where she is at right now, right? So if we want to be in if we want to reduce that into 40%, is we only have to reduce by 2.4%. 2.4% out of the 8,485 square feet is only 210, if I did the math that correct. So 2.4 times 485. Yeah, that's 207 square feet that you need to reduce.
All right, so at a 12 by 24 foot pool.
So she just saved 102 feet, right? With the pool, and then she'll save some with the concrete because she's going to have less concrete just for a smaller
Correct.
pool.
I don't know how much
Reducing to
concrete
3
is.
feet, but she's gonna save some by having a smaller pool because the smaller surround, right?
Correct.
So I don't know. 280 feet though. So 24.
Well, the perimeter will go from 76 feet.
I think it'll be 216 feet of perimeter. Is that correct? Right, because you'd have 24 times 2, 48 plus 12. Just trying to get an accurate number of what the concrete around that would be. Seems like we're getting close to 40%.
So that would be, we need to reduce, let me see one more time, 110.4 times 485. That's 203 feet, 203 feet out of that number.
If
It needs another 100 feet roughly to be reduced on the concrete.
So if you took a little bit off the walkway around the pool, you made like 2 or 2.5 feet wide.
Well, I think you're pretty much at that number because the pool at 3 feet is still going to be smaller just for the fact of a smaller pool.
Correct. If I did my math correct, it's just right, just there. She's saving a 280 square feet, 288 square feet. I'm sorry. Because the existing pool that she has is 13 by 30. She's going to reduce that by 12 by 24. So that's 390 minus 288. That's right there. She have 100. She have 102 just on the pool alone, and she needs another 100 square feet just to be on 40%. So if she takes the perimeter of another foot of the walkway, and let's see another. I don't know how big is the patio, existing patio. I don't have exact dimension. They don't show that on the plan. How big is your patio by any chance? The existing patio. Your survey doesn't show the dimension for your existing patio.
Sorry, I don't have that on hand. I'm just looking.
I think you get I think just by keeping it 3 feet wide around the pool, not reducing that yet, you save another 42 feet.
There you go. She needs
Because
another
of the small-
50.
plus 102. So we're like 60 feet off. If I'm doing this right.
Correct. She's on 144. She needs another 60 square feet to be taken off of the patio.
Or a little bit off the exterior, but I guess we have some reasons why you might not want to do that.
Exterior concrete around the pool.
Right now, by you reducing the pool, you're saving 100 square feet. By taking 1 foot off the pool and reducing the pool itself, you're having another 42 square feet. So you're still short by 60 square feet. Now, I don't know how big is the patio in the back.
If we were to do the patio all the way around the pool, and so the way I do this math is I take the pool size and then I add 6 feet because it's 3 feet on either side. Then we also have the corners, which are 36. We're somewhere around 136 square feet taken out by making the pool 12 by 24. And what's the number that we have to be at if we were to take out a sliver of concrete right in that main body on the little area where she's going to put chairs? If we take out like a foot or two there, I think we could be right where we need to be.
I don't know how wide is the patio there.
13 by 16, if I'm not mistaken.
13 by 16, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Can we do a motion and pass this with saying that the pool will be reduced to 24 by 12 and the lot coverage to be acceptable?
40%.
Yeah, we have done that in the past where we've said
they can play with the numbers.
Maximum permitted is 40%. The applicant can decide how to reduce. If that's even
She
smaller.
may not want to take a foot off the edge of the pool. She might, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever makes sense for the applicant might be better than us deciding now what she needs to do.
Yeah.
Get to your 40%, and that's what we can approve you for, if that's what's acceptable support.
Yeah, as long as we've got something that there's something to work toward. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, that's the way I would make the motion, Mr. Chairman, but I've got one other.
Hold on, Mr. Merman. Ms. Steinle?
Sorry. I just had one clarification. The board engineer, Mr. Flores, mentioned doing soil testing, and I just wanted to make sure that the applicant would agree that to the condition that any approval of the board would be conditioned on you conducting the soil testing to determine that the soil would be able to handle the additional seepage pit, and that you would work with the borough engineer regarding the installation and sizing of the seepage pits and any drainage and stormwater issues. Would you agree to that? Would you agree to those conditions? Oh, sorry. Oh, there we go. All right, thank you.
Mr. Merman.
I got one condition for one question for Jason and Michael from the pool town. The infiltration trench, what would be the clearance to the adjacent property line in feet? Because we might have to give them a variance.
They need to get rid of that. My suggestion to the board is that the infiltration trench they need to eliminate that. They need to place two seepage pits to address all the stormwater runoff in the property.
So 2 seepage pits total?
2 seepage pits total, yeah. 1,000 gallons, 2 feet around. I mean, for some reason, I have a plan done by Pool Town which shows a seepage pit with 1,000 seepage pit gallon. That's the seepage pit.
That was one of my earlier proposals, to just put in a separate seepage pit. And after talking with the engineer, he had said that the infiltration trench would actually be superior based on.
Yeah, the problem is that he only used 2 inches for a storm, and he only used the extra impervious coverage, and he didn't take in consideration the removal of the existing seepage pit in there. So that's why.
Understood.
But it's the proximity to the property line. I don't recommend the infiltration trench to be there. Just get rid of it and then just put the seepage pit, as long as the soil testing works.
I would agree with that in my professional opinion as well.
So the total gallons are 3,000, correct? Including what we have already?
What's going to happen is you're going to get an approval, I guess, and you're going to come up with the right coverage, which is going to be like around 40%, right? So based on that, we can work together in order to get the exact number of seepage pits that you're going to need in there. I don't know if that can be added as a condition of the resolution or not, but.
Okay.
Go.
So is it my understanding that this infiltration trench is going to be replaced with seepage pits?
That seems to be the proposal. Yes.
Okay. That's good. Wonderful.
Is that acceptable, to you, Ms. Dabney? Okay.
Okay.
Good.
I'm just reading, one of Tom's comments. All right. So we don't have a problem with the patio setback from property lines. So I guess the only variance we have is the lot coverage, correct?
That's my understanding. Yep.
At
Okay,
this point, yeah, 40%.
okay. So Mr. Chairman, let's make a motion that for the Dabney property at 390 Fifth Avenue in River Ridge, which is block 906, lot 39, that the board grant a lot coverage, improved lot coverage not to exceed 40%, which would include pool, all right, not exceed 40%, that the homeowner and their design professionals will adjust pool size, walkway sizes, and patio accordingly to achieve that 40%. And it's also understood that the drainage will be revised to include seepage pits only to accommodate that amount needed for the 40%. I think that about covers it.
I think we also need something on the soil testing for the.
Oh, the
percolate.
soil testing,
Correct.
yes. Yes. Well, actually, when you look at Mr. Costa's letter, he has his comments are in there. So I would include conforming to the comments of Mr. Costa's review letter, which also addresses other needs of soil movement and so forth. I think that covers it.
And Marina, do we need to just clarify, which plan we're actually approving tonight? We've done that sufficiently.
I think that that's sufficient. The one that was actually included in the application packet that was stapled together, not the pool time plan or
Okay.
pool town plan.
Yeah.
And I'll note that in our resolution, any resolution.
Okay. With that motion, is there a second from the board?
Second.
I think that was Mr. Cray. Ms. Steinle, when you're ready.
All right, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Ms. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Kellyan,
Yes.
Councilman,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
and Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes.
Okay.
Congratulations. Thank you, everyone, for
Yes.
sticking.
Enjoy
that
your
out.
pool.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Appreciate this.
Good
Thank you.
luck. Real quick before we adjourn, folks, just a reminder, just that Ed does a lot of work to make sure that we have materials for the hearings. He does leave them at the police dispatcher's desk, readily available. Just want to remind everybody, to the extent you can, please do go in and pick those up. And they are there; they're available for your benefit, of course. But just want to make that reminder and announcement to everybody. With that, we are at 10:09. I appreciate everybody hanging in, and look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I think I got Mr. Cray as a first and Ms. Boland as a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? We stand adjourned at 10:09 PM. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Thank you.
congratulations on
Good
your.
night,
move.
everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Night.
Thank-
Right.
Bye.